Good evening, viewers, and welcome back to this monthly edition of Startup Speaks, conducted under the aegis of NASSCOM 10,000 Startups. This program celebrates the journey and success of stalwart startups within our ecosystem. And what a stellar cast we have lined up for you today. First up, we should be talking to Taposh Chakraborty, who's the co-founder and CEO of Vixplore Analytics. Taposh currently is literally on cloud nine because his company has just qualified for the Entrepreneurship World Cup 2020. Now, let me just put this in perspective for you. This is a contest that's being undertaken this year across 187 countries and 200,000. Yes, you heard that right. That's 2 lakh entrepreneurs who are applicants across the world, and they've qualified there. Next up, we shall have Sujata Chatterjee, who's the managing director of Twirl Store. Amongst the various awards and accolades that they have won are the Swayam Siddha Award, which is conferred by the Eastern Chamber of Commerce. They're the recipient of the Devi Award from New India Express, and also Your Stories Award of Women on a Mission. And last but not the least, we shall also be in conversation with Aman Gupta, who's the founder and CEO of Brickview Studios. He was part of the HYSEA 2019 as a key panelist in the AR and VR session. So first up, let's start with Taposh. Before we go into your absolutely stupendous achievement, first, take a step back and talk to us about Vixplore. It's one company, but as I understand, it is a large number of products. What gave you this inspiration to start Vixplore?
Thanks, Avi. I would like to thank NASSCOM, Webel, Government of West Bengal for arranging such a wonderful session. And also, I would like to thank Mr. Arihan Kothari for inviting me here. Good evening, everybody. I am Taposh Chakraborty, co-founder and CEO of Vixplore Analytics Private Limited. So today, I'm going to tell you my journey, how I started, my failures, success, one by one. So it's a very short time, so I will give you in short. So first of all, a quick introduction. I have done my graduation in computer science from Jadavpur University in 2007. After that, I joined IT industry, initially in Tech Mahindra. Then I worked in PwC and IBM. So I have worked in many cities of India and also in Europe, Middle East, and in Southeast Asia. So after serving a decade into the IT industry, I have decided to quit in 2017. But I was not sure at that point of time what I'm going to do. So I was thinking about a couple of ways. Like first of all, I thought about doing my PhD. Then I thought about starting my new venture. And as you can see here, I am an entrepreneur by choice. I was not struggling at all. And also, I have some financial stability also. So which fund I can invest into my venture. So at that time, I was working in the data analytics mostly in my IT career, and I decided to build a data science platform at that time. So as I decided, I have approached my close friend, Began, and we have decided to develop a data science platform. So we have started coding by ourselves, the two young entrepreneurs. And after 3-4 months, we have developed the minimum viable product, minimum version of that product. And after that, I went to the market, all my in the network, and I approached them. I told them this is an innovative product, you should use it. But that was my first failure, that all of them congratulates me, says that yes, Very good.
So sorry, Taposh, quick interjection. What was your product at this stage?
So it's a data science platform. So you can upload data, different kind of data sources you can integrate into that product. And also you can visualize what is there inside the data. You can do analysis like forecast, predictive analysis, clustering, and all the machine learning algos are already integrated there. And also you can save the data, share it in a lot of things.
Okay.
Obviously, all these features were not developed initial version of the product, but most of them were covered.
So people congratulated you, but they
Right,
didn't buy it.
right. But they said that, okay, we work with IBM or maybe with Accenture, but not with a new startup like you.
Okay.
So that was the first impression that I had at that time. So then I started approaching the local client here in Kolkata. But the most problem that I faced is that I was not able to reach the top companies in Kolkata. And I met some of them, but they don't want to pay much for that. So at that time, I was thinking what I should do. Then I got the opportunity for NASCOM and I applied over there and we were selected. So during this application process, I had to fill up a form. So there a lot of queries were there. Who is your target customer? Why they will buy your product? Who are the competitors? What is the market
What's your
size?
go-to-market strategy?
Right.
Who's
So a
your
lot of
right?
queries they
What's your
have
pricing?
asked.
What's your revenue model, etc., right?
Exactly. And I don't have answer for them.
Okay.
For some of
Right.
them, I don't
So
have
it
the
forced
answer.
you to go back to the drawing board and find out the
Right,
answers afresh, right? Great.
right. So that time, what I did, I take a break. I read some articles about the success stories, the startup failures, and the strategies the other startups have taken. So all those things, all the homeworks I did, then I came back again, almost after 3-4 months, and this time we have applied for a contest in IIM Calcutta, and we won that contest. We become second
Congratulations.
runner up there. So at that time, we met Professor Ashok Banerjee. He agreed to join into the Explore as a mentor, and we started doing the analytics products into fintech domain. So since the Banerjee has joined and he is a domain expert for the fintech domain, we decided to build some product for fintech domain. And our strength is the text analysis, text mining. So couple of products he gave the idea and we decided to build that. But again, we met another challenge, the pandemic situation now, the COVID situation. Most of our existing clients stopped payment. So again, it's a kind of dicey situation where I was thinking what to do. Then we decided, let's not focus about the clients. Let's develop our own product so that when the lockdown is over, we can go to the market and we can get some traction. So that was the strategy that we took.
Wonderful. So Taposh will be back for more questions, but in the interest of time, let's go on to Sujata. So Sujata, when we're talking about Twirl Store, the first thing that struck me when I went to your website and I went through the literature, the brochure, is that across the world, there's a lot of talk and indeed a lot of work which is being done around recycling. And most of that in terms of has an ecological kind of a connotation. But in your case, it has a very, very tangible, practical application. And I mean, when you think about it, right? And I don't want to explain it, it should come from you in your own words. When you think about it, it's not rocket science, but it's so simple and yet it's so innovative. So tell me how you hit upon this idea and explain the idea to our viewers.
Thank you so much for inviting me and for asking me this question also, because I think this is my favorite question where I get to talk about twirl and why I do what I do. So I became an entrepreneur simply because I felt the need to do so. So though the general trend is to work in a segment that's similar to the education and your previous work experience, I've pretty much done the opposite of that. Though I'm an engineer by degree and my previous work experience was in the IT sector, I am now a social entrepreneur and I'm focused on reducing cloth wastage, ensuring women empowerment, trying to conserve our natural resources, as well as meeting the clothing needs of the poor. But I have done this transformation is because, as I said, I felt the burning desire to be a change maker in this segment where everybody was thousands of organizations are pushing us to be consumers, but here, by being an entrepreneur, I help people to be a little more socially responsible in their choices. So the story of Twirl actually starts from me and my own wardrobe. Because we live in an age of a retail boom, my wardrobe was filled to the brim. We now shop throughout the year. Even when we were younger, we used to maybe shop twice, once during pujas and once maybe for Poila Boishak. But now we all shop throughout the year, leading to our wardrobes being full. But most of the things there I'm not using or going to repeat again. So I kept thinking, what to do with all this. And I knew this was an issue that my friends, family, everybody had, that their wardrobes are full. They didn't know what to do with what they had, and yet they were still shopping again. And when I started, reading up about this, I realized that this is not a problem that I have or the people I know, that it's just a problem they have. This problem is actually so large. The World Economic Forum has stated that 60% of the clothes being produced nowadays are lying somewhere unused, underutilized, and eventually going to get wasted. And we do not realize that while we are wasting these clothes, it is actually a huge lot of natural resources that we are wasting. The fashion industry is actually the second most pollutant in the world, but this is something we do not discuss and we would rather keep it under the carpet. So
Yep.
we do not know as consumers that the cotton shirt that we may have discarded because we don't just like the color, to make that, it has taken up as much water as I would drink in 2.5 years. And the denim jeans that we don't wear because it's
Mm-hmm.
not the style anymore, to make and wash that, it's emitted as much carbon as, say, going 69 miles in a car. But these are things that you will never hear discussed in any forum, which is why as consumers, we do not feel what we are doing in our own wardrobes can also affect environment. But for me personally, I think what was even more shocking is that we live in a country like India, where we know there are lakhs of people in the slums and villages who struggle to find basic clothing. And
Mm-hmm.
there are so many talented women in the lower stratas of society who need a decent source of livelihood. So for me, it was very clear that we have excess. There must be a simple way of using this excess to benefit those who do not have it, and at the same time also, try and conserve the natural resources of our country. So with this thought in mind, I started Twirl Store, where we exactly say this simple message. We tell people that if you have unwanted clothes in your wardrobe, please send them to Twirl. You as a customer will get points which you can redeem to buy new things from us. But with
Mm-hmm.
all that you give us, we either donate it to those who need it, or we upcycle it as a fabric to make new products out of it. Now, this entire work of upcycling, which means reusing fabrics, is being done by the rural women, thus giving them a source of livelihood. So they make products in the range of bags, accessories, gift items, and all these get sold on www.twirl.store and also find place in bulk orders, corporate gifting. And so what I have basically done through Twirl is I've created a platform, an online platform to link the two opposite ends of society. And at the same time, I tried to meet the aspirations on both sides.
Talk to us a little bit in terms of the upskilling, Sujata, because
Yeah.
you would definitely have to liaise to this largish ecosystem, particularly in the rural areas, to A, give them the fabric, right? and for them to literally like take it off, right, and then refurbish it and remake it into some new product which you can then again go to market. So this involves logistics, it involves skills, it involves transportation, it involves a basic level of quality assurance as well, because they are making, they're undoing something and making a new product based on certain specifications. How did you work this out, and how did you scale this up?
Absolutely. So, the beauty of Toy Story is, as you just mentioned, the idea is actually very simple. And if I'm to be honest with myself, I always tell everyone also, I'm not a great, inventor. What I've actually done is I've taken two steps back into our own tradition. So, upcycling was actually a part of Indian tradition. And I think we have all had maybe grandmothers at home who used to make, blankets out of old saris, and maybe curtains out of certain waste fabrics. So upcycling was very much there. And what has happened is these rural ladies are also they are familiar with the concept of upcycling, which is why it is very easy for them to relate to it and be able to do this work. But of course, at 12, the entire work that we do, it is huge. So I have got myself into a huge um, working situation where we have to take care of a lot of operations. We do the entire manufacturing. Then, as you said, again, the quality check. So how it happens is anybody from across the country can send us their clothes. All this comes to a central office in Kolkata, where the first step is to segregate it. Not all material can be upcycled. So the first step we need to do is we need to segregate what can be upcycled, what cannot.
And what
What
can't be.
cannot be, yeah, what cannot be upcycled is actually kept as clothing itself, and we
Okay.
use it when we have our huge donation drives in which we really go out and give close to thousands of people. But the material that can be upcycled is all sorted and kept separately. And then again, yes, it has to be sent to the rural women or the SHGs that we are working with. They are explain the process, they make the products, after which again the entire thing comes back to our central office. It's there that we, again check the products, the quality check and everything, has to be done before they're dispatched from the central office to customers across the country. So it is a huge operation that I do, but it's worth it simply because of the number of people that I can involve in the process. And I'm very proud to say TWA is an all-girls team. And in every role of this, in the not just in the manufacturing, but in the operations, in the sales, in every role of it, we have ladies from very different backgrounds who have managed to, find a place in this and are doing this work.
Lovely. So across this entire value chain, when you're talking of numbers, how many people are involved here at the moment?
So my extended team is over 50 people.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So back again for multiple more rounds of questions. In the meantime, Aman will quickly go over to you. So when we're talking about Brickview, right? What gave you this idea of picking up this particular product or this particular line of business?
So, thank you, Avik. So, thanks for having me here. 10,000 startups, Government of West Bengal, NASCOM. So, let me start with the beginning. So, I started like helping my father's business when I was 6, and down the line, I figured out like I want to help people to bring their imagination into reality. Okay, what they thought. So when I was 13, so I literally came to a problem like one of our school like handicapped children were there and they were raising some donations. Okay, but their administration didn't know how to work on the websites and how can collect donations for their school. Okay, so over that time I built a website for them, and that were like been my first like success in my life, and it goes up to around $10,000, which is around 7 lakh rupees at that time, and which helped them very in a very good way. Okay. Then later, uh, In 2018, I was been the part of the NASA Space Challenge, and we were representing our country. So somewhere or the other way, like I figured out, like I love to solve challenges from my early childhood, and from there, like uh, when the AR and VR were very like exciting at that time. Okay, and when I was started the Big Q, then we gone to many customers or like retail companies. So they were having similar problem of heavy returns actually. So what the people are like having, it's like misfits or like style, it's not looking good for them. So they were around 60% of the like return rates were there for the retail companies, and that was huge for them, and that decreased their like revenue around 30 to 15%, 50% actually. And we figured out that this is something which like we figured out the market of around East India, and that were around 100 plus businesses who were like uh, having this problem. So after figuring out this problem, we got to know about some of the solutions which were already there. Then we figured out that those solutions, but that were not cost effective for the
Mhm.
businesses that they can try out. So we started to build a solution last year, and we give the name TryBuy, and we built the first web AR, which is a virtual try-on for the web in the augmented reality. And
Mhm.
from there, we now have more than 5 clients across different uh, countries, and we have already extended the solution to furniture and different domains as well.
So it's
So
actually
yeah,
moved on. So going beyond apparel and accessories to other things. So if I buy a piece of furniture, so I have a particular settee or a particular sofa set, and I want to figure out, okay, how that's going to look in my room or in my drawing room or living room, you get that. So it's not just a jacket or a blazer that I put on,
exactly.
right? So you've gone beyond. But I would still like to ask the question, even in the AR or VR world, right? So there's so many different things that one can think of. What made you think in terms of, to put it simply, fit, right? Be that the look and feel of a sofa set or a look and feel of a blazer. What made you choose this particular challenge to solve?
So we started exactly. So like I believe most of people like currently know regarding AR and VR. And before the pandemic, it's more look like kind of a luxury for the AR and VR. But now it's become a necessity actually, right?
Yep.
So when we started, we were more focused on the apparel side, and then we figured out after the pandemic we got this kind of a like demand from the businesses like they were having. And since most of the businesses have closed their retail chains because nobody knew like how long this pandemic will end, and they also have a huge loss in their uh, market actually, and the clients.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the impact that the pandemic has had with you, because normally, as you said, right, it's more for nice to have. If I can go into I'm staying in Kolkata, right, and I'm staying in Baliganj, and I can go to Acropolis Mall, or I can go to Quest, or I can go to Forum at the drop of a hat at any point of time, any day, right? Then this becomes like a nice to have. But the moment I have enforced social distancing, and then I can still go to Quest, maybe, right, and check out the fancy store, but there is a big risk involved. So immediately I'm going to ask myself, okay, am I going to take that risk, or am I going to go through your product, right, and at least see the look and feel? And if that works, then at least I'm de-risking it. So has that really helped your business in a big way?
Yeah, exactly. Like before that, as I said, like it was more of a luxury, and maybe some way or the another way, like businesses were not figuring out like AR and VR can help them, specifically AR actually. But now
Mhm.
they are more into the sense like they have to sell their things in the market, so that's why they are choosing AR for that particularly.
Absolutely. And how many people do you have in your team at the moment,
So
Aman?
so it's around 20 people.
Okay, that's a good sizable team. That actually segues back, Taposh, to what we had discussed earlier, right? So we broke the thread off, Taposh, when we were talking about the pandemic situation. And you said, okay, during the pandemic, again, there were some stop payments, and again, we had to visualize and rejig and work in terms of the new products. So let's pick up the thread from there and tell us in terms of some of your new strategies, A, of coping with this pandemic situation, and then taking the next step to go from coping to thriving to success.
Yeah. So as I said, during the lockdown period, we have developed two interesting products. The first one is called TextFloat. It's a text-based analysis tool, actually. So it takes an annual report of the company as an input. It goes through it, all the sentences that is there in the annual report. So earlier, what was happening? The banks and the financial institutes only look at the numbers, not the text part. But if you look at an annual report, maybe 300 pages long, there is 80% text and numbers are very less. So banks are not using those text part at all. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to analyze all the text part, and we are deriving insights from there. So what is the output of our product? It will give you all the sentences, the positive and the negative sentences, and the overall probability of distress. So let's say Nirav Modi's company is going to default. Even before 2 years of that part, our tool can predict whether that particular company is going to default or not. So it's a very powerful tool, and we are using only the text part, and that is also the text written by the top management of the company. So now understand the situation. It's my company. I will try to give some text which is better,
which is favorable, which is obviously advantageous, favorable to myself. Obviously,
our product is so powerful that it can highlight the negative sentences, and it can give the accuracy up to 90%.
So give us more examples. So give us more examples in terms of both negative and positive. So I'm just thinking aloud, right? So negative could be not just in case of for listed company stocks going down, but things like litigation, for example, right? So if I have that 300-page report, and if there is an official litigation that that is happening against my company, I'm duty bound to have that mentioned. Or in any case, then some news item or media item will definitely mention that. I can't run away if there's a public litigation, right, out there in the court. If there's a matter pending in the court and sub judice, I can't hide it under the carpet. So those kind of things is something that the algorithm will pick on in terms of negative.
Exactly.
And give me positives. Give me some examples around positives then.
So positive means, let's say, the profit in the last quarter, or maybe some acquisition for which the company will be beneficial. So those kind of sentences will be highlighted there. So all the we call the positive sentence as sunshine sentences, and the negative as fear sentences. So all those sentences will be highlighted.
Wow, that's really great. That's really great. So in terms of
product, we have selected in Entrepreneurship World Cup, and we also developed another product for which we got a client from Dubai. It's basically a micro loan platform. So here, for us, who actually goes to bank and take a huge amount of loan, we already have the credit history, the credit cards, whether I'm paying those bills or not, the civil score. But for microfinance, there is no structured solution as such, and there is no credit history. In fact, the members of the microfinance, the borrowers, they don't even have the bank account. So for them, it's the digital solution is much more important. So what we are providing some simple questionnaire that whether you are part of small help group or not, how much income do you have, how many dependents you have. So all these questionnaires, the loan officer can visit to the borrower and fill up the form in offline mode, and when it comes back to the office, it it can go online. So that's how the entire product works, and we have immediate credit bill model. So immediate the loan will be sanctioned based on the form fill up. We have inbuilt risk assessment model also, where for a particular product, what is the risk associated with it, we can actually assess that amount. And also we have impact assessment module, which is new and no other microfinance tools have. So what it does, basically the borrower who is actually taking the loan, whether he is successful in that or not. So let's say I, as a borrower, I have taken educational loan.
Okay.
So the institutions need to know whether that taking that loan, whether the education happened or not. If they took the business loan, whether the business successful or not. So those kind of informations, those kind of feedbacks, they can give within the tool itself, and it helps the microfinance institution to prepare a report and send it to the government. So that's how it works.
Okay, great. So one of the things, very quick aside to the viewers, is part of this program, we had requested all of the co-founders here, startup founders here, to fill in a survey that we are conducting, which more has to do with the behavioral traits and attributes that they feel are very important, particularly in these pandemic times, right? And Taposh, when you filled it up, we had this superset, like this huge bouquet of different kinds of skills and attributes. And when we asked you to choose 5 out of 24, and then we asked you to say, what's on top. Now, interestingly, for you, you've said honesty and integrity, right? Be that in terms of your own team members, or be that in terms of the people that you're dealing with, you have ranked this particular thing above everything else, even above teamwork and leadership and everything, right? So tell us about your choice and why you think, particularly in these times, something like honesty and integrity is so key, is so essential for success.
Yeah, basically, I choose this because honesty, I should be honest to my partner, my co-founders, and also with the employee. So whatever promises I gave, I should keep those promises. And also, I'm dealing with a lot of the clients. So if, let's say, there is a contract and we got some projects, or maybe they have subscribed for 1 year license of our product. So whatever promise I made, I should keep that. So that's the intention I should have, and that is why I selected it as a topmost.
Okay, and of course, after this, it will be the last round of questions for the viewers. So right now, Taposh, let me ask you a little bit. This huge, stupendous feat that you have, right? Qualifying for the Entrepreneurship World Cup. What does it really entail? Tell us a little bit, tell the viewers a little bit about this particular contest, what it involves, what's the timeline, what's the duration, what's the process, what happens through this?
So obviously this, it was suggested by Arihan Kothari, and I filled the form and submitted it. And after that, they said that, okay, you are selected for your text.
You make it sound very easy. It can't be that easy. Just tell us a little bit more about it. Yeah, he asked me to fill a form. I filled a form. Ho gaya. Come.
Every time I got an update that final round is going on in Ecuador or maybe in Belgium. So all over the world, I'm getting the update. But for India, it's still not started. So I can't tell you about more how the process, how they have selected, how the process is going on. But I'm keeping an eye on it, what is going on in other countries. And I found that some of the startups are quite interesting. I mean, their products are very innovative, and it actually gives me a platform to interact with a lot of other startups from altogether a different country. So that's the benefit that I have. I don't know whether I'm going to win or what is the result, but yes,
all our hopes are with you.
Of course, this platform is essential to have the interaction with other people. That's what I can suggest immediately.
Yeah. Lovely. So Sujata, talking about again the pandemic, right? How has the pandemic affected your business, and particularly because your business has such a great outreach and such a noble intention of reaching out to the people who are the most disadvantaged and marginalized. And it's not just been the pandemic. For people on the eastern coast, particularly West Bengal, we've been hit with a double whammy. For example, the Amphan cyclone, right? So, what has been the kind of role that 12 Store has played during these times?
So I'll just start this with a very, different perspective that I have.
Please.
The day I became an entrepreneur, I knew that it was going to be a difficult road ahead. And because we are a social enterprise, it was never about, funding or valuations for us. It was always about working on the ground from day one. And so it's always been a very steep uphill path for us every single day. And in this long ongoing battle, I have my mental strength as armor, and that just keeps me going on as an entrepreneur. But I think, yes, we are going through difficult times, but at least this is something that everybody's aware of. So if you tell people that 2020 was difficult, at least everybody knows what you're talking about. But we have been through even worse times when there is an organizational crisis or something like that, which is very difficult to explain to someone else also, and yet you still need to overcome those also to go ahead as an organization. So I think as an entrepreneur, I've realized that problems are consistent. The name and nature of the crisis changes, but I will always have a problem at hand to deal with. But again, coming back to the specific issue of the pandemic and Amphan, so we, much before the country declared a lockdown, we as a responsible organization told everybody to, just stay at home as much as they could and kept our operations to a minimum. However, with the pandemic starting, we started getting calls from a lot of social welfare officers, from NGOs and a lot of organizations telling us that you guys already have this setup of doing so much work. Masks, gloves, these are essential things that get needed. So this was nowhere in our plan of things, but simply seeing the need of the hour, we went all out. And yes, because we already have a setup of these rural centers, of the self-help groups, of the work from home facilities, we immediately plunged into it and started supplying in bulk to organizations. And we've been doing that for the last 4 months, 5 months, I think now. And to the extent that even we were I was very happy, but last month even Niti Aayog posted about us officially that in West Bengal, 12 Store is continuously, making these masks for organizations and giving it. But so we continue, our service to society in whichever way we can. And right after the Amphan, other than making sure that every member of my team is safe and okay, what we did was, I think just within a week of it, hitting us, we arranged clothes and food and other essentials for more than 700 people, and we immediately sent that out. So other than the regular donation drives that we keep on doing, this was, specific to Amphan, that, we, even though it was, still a lockdown scenario and everything, but we pulled in all our resources and we got this done also. So 12 Store as an organization is committed to serving the social needs of those around us. And I think, as I said, whatever may be the situation, we've sort of taken this pledge that we're going to work through this, but we are going to support the people who need us.
And tell us, what do all of these awards and accolades and recognition, right? What does that mean to you? Does that give you the motivation and impetus to keep on going? Is it a vindication of all the hard work and effort, as you started off by saying? It's not going to be a very easy road ahead. Does it give you that renewed impetus, or do you not really think too much about it?
We feel wonderful. It's overwhelming. It's very motivating. And I'll tell you a brutal truth. As a social enterprise, there is no none of the glamour that is associated with a typical startup does not exist for us. There is no great money involved. There is no big offices. There is none of that is there. But when we get a recognition like that, it feels good that somebody has noted the effort that we are putting in, because we also, as an organization, we don't expect much from it, but it feels good to know. But and I've been overwhelmed by the range of awards and recognitions we have received, right from the national media, always talking about us, to receiving the Devi Award from the hands of Mrs. Smriti Irani. I've also been felicitated by Ms. Chandrima Bhattacharya in West Bengal. And so we've been overwhelmed by the love everybody has shown us. But while saying that, let me also say that while this is all very motivating, I think for me, and I can pretty much speak for the team also, our greatest motivation is the smiles on the faces of those whose lives we touch. When we go out to the rural villages, when we interact with those people who we give clothes to or who we provide work to, that smile is also a great motivational point for us. So it is a mixture of both. These also, keep me motivated. But I think on a daily basis, I have to just look at these smiles to keep me going.
Wonderful, wonderful. And we're sure that this journey is just going to go forth and very much larger and better horizons going forward. Aman, coming back to you, we talked a little bit about the pandemic situation, right? And how that's actually helped rather than hindered your particular line of business. So what's the path ahead? What's the strategy ahead for your business?
Yeah, so what we thought of it like reaching to the businesses out there in East India than India, and mainly help them to scale their businesses with the
Hmm.
augmented reality and the product we built at Drive actually. So what we thought of, it's mainly we firstly start with 5 to 10 people with the initial pilots in India, with starting with the Kolkata, and then we will go around East India and then India. So the more with the more pilots and with the more businesses to join with us.
Okay. So given that Brickview has had a very short journey but very eventful journey, as you mentioned, you've already been able to land very lucrative and sort of enviable contracts abroad, right? Was this part of a specific game plan when you started out that, oh, look, this particular thing, we see a large market outside India, so we're not going to limit it to India itself? Or did it happen spontaneously, organically?
Yeah, so like for example, before the pandemic, our team was around 10 people, but now it's 20. So we saw a drastic change actually. We started with apparel and apparel accessories, and literally like people in the foreign like came to us and wanted to have solve their problem, uh, like like for example, one of our clients who is from Southeast Asia. So
Hmm.
they were having a big retail chain for the furniture, and there were stores like IKEA, and they were having huge losses. It's around $100,000 in a month, and their revenues were declining very fastly. So they want to switch into different kind of solution which helps them to scale their business and also help their customers to buy online and have a look and feel in their home itself.
Okay, okay. Great. And again, tell us in terms of the foreign clients that you've talked about, right? How do you go about pitching to them? So was that something that happened very naturally, or do you now have a game plan saying, okay, this is what I'm going to try and do for the West, this is what I'm going to try and do for, let's say, Southeast Asia, and this is a particular thing, like a strategy, like a proper game plan for, let's say, the Middle East?
So mainly we follow two kind of strategies out there. So one is the going with a partner,
Hmm.
a kind of a partner which is residing in any of the country, because going in other country without having the offices in their country, in that country, that is a very typical thing actually. So we firstly go with a partner, okay, and secondly we more look into the our you can say mentors, advisors who are already having these connections out there and who can introduce us with them, as well as particularly I am good at going with the cold mails actually, like, so sometimes it also works. So yeah, basically it's all about whatever thing you can do, you have to execute yourself with the proper execution.
Mhm, mhm. Absolutely. So viewers, I see there've been a large number of questions that have been posed by you. So now what we would do is we would take them up and we'll have as many of them answered by the panelists as possible. So the first question I'm going to take up is, let's say, maybe the one from Ankit, right? And while we wait for it to come up, I'll just paraphrase it. And when we have these questions, I'll just put it up for anybody. Each one of you can come in and talk about it. So this is Ankit's question. We live in extremely turbulent, uncertain terms, right? There are lots and lots of people who are losing jobs. Equally large number of people who've done their graduation, done their degree, and normally would have joined the workforce and are finding it extremely difficult to get placed, right? So what, as entrepreneurs, what would be your advice to them? Should they start looking at becoming solopreneurs? Should they start to hone some entrepreneurial skills, become freelancers? What would be your advice? Anybody can take these questions. Just raise your hand and go. Yep,
Yeah.
Sujata first.
Ankit, I'll just give a small advice here. Don't become an entrepreneur or don't start a startup just because you don't have anything else to do. I think if you have to have a startup, you have to identify a problem and have a solution with it and be focused on that and be ready to take that to the end. And that is very very difficult. It is a lot more difficult than I can explain it to you. So if at all you are really focused on a problem and you really want to solve it, then only get into it. Otherwise startups are the most difficult things to do. So it is not the easy option out. Yes, there are a lack of opportunities right now, but this again won't be the easy way out that you're looking for. So, and on the other side, if you are really serious about it and you want to do it, then it doesn't matter what challenges you're going to face along the way. Yes, there will be many, but your challenges are going to be different from the ones I faced or from the ones say Taposh faced or Aman faced. We all face our own set of challenges, and as you face them, you will find a way to overcome them also, if, as I say, you are really focused on doing it. Otherwise, there are a lot of other things that you can do while you are waiting to find your suitable job, like developing your skills, or doing a lot of, or maybe take working on an internship in a startup or an organization, and just seeing whether it is whether a startup really is the thing for you.
That's excellent answer. So essentially, Siddhartha, what you're saying is don't take up startups because you have nothing else to do to fill in time. It cannot be a hobby. It has to be born
Yes,
out of really, really strong conviction and burning passion.
absolutely.
Taposh, you wanted to add something.
Yeah, I want to add something because if you look at the famous movie of Satyajit Ray, the John Arone, actually the movie character was trying to apply in a lot of other for a lot of jobs and he didn't get that, but
Mhm.
finally he started his own business. Now business and entrepreneur, a businessman and an entrepreneur, that is not same. So to become an entrepreneur you have to have that passion, as Sujata said, and also you have to make sure that there will be a lot of challenges are there and you have to face those challenges. You should face those challenges, you should find a way to get out of that. So all these things are there, and you should be, if you want to do the, if you want to be an entrepreneur, then you have to accept that the path is challenging.
Mhm.
That's what I wanted to add.
Great. So there is another question which came in early on in the program, which essentially had to do with risks, and maybe Aman, you can take first pass at it. Uh, what are the kinds of risks, right, that you always have to keep in mind, that you would say, regardless of the sector, regardless of the particular line of business or product, at any point of time, a startup entrepreneur, let's say in year one or even year two of its journey, these are some risks that you have to keep sort of literally living with 24/7. And how do you overcome them? How do you address them?
So yeah, that's a very good question. Actually, I can say. So according to me, firstly, the single most thing what I had done was like uh, as I like, is it giving clarity like what I will be doing? Like for example, I will be doing entrepreneurship or I will be doing a job or freelancing. But the main thing always it's like what's do you have the clarity of what you will be doing? Like you will be going for the entrepreneurship, right? So the clarity is the number one thing. Then secondly, do you have the skill set for that? Like for example, most of the things like happen with the entrepreneurs, it's like they don't have that skill and either they have to hire anyone or either they have to like uh, learn themselves. So these two things were like always there. Then the third thing I can say, it's like uh, if you want to go for something like a startup or going into the entrepreneurship, you have to give around 5 to 10 years, and those 5 to 10 years will be something which you don't know. Like it's a path. Maybe your ancestors or maybe your previous generation didn't have taken. Like example, like me, like my ancestors did chosen these paths and they were mostly into the business, simple business
Mhm.
or maybe in the job sector actually. So yeah, these three things I can say like it's the risk factor according to me, which you should always think of while starting mainly with the entrepreneurship or the starting with the startup.
Okay. So we've got another question in chat from Ishani, which talks about the widespread sort of preponderance of technology. Okay. While it's coming up, I'll paraphrase it. So what Ishani is saying is, look, everything is going more online, everything is going more digital and more technological. So do you see a scenario where in startups as well as in sort of large corporates and giant sort of companies, technology adoption is going to the extent that it really replaces humans on a wide scale? And is that a problem? Anybody can take this up. Yeah, Aman, go for it.
Yeah, so according to me, like machines will always be there, but as far as I can understand, machine is always depending on the humans actually. Whatever like you will be creating, it always be some way or the another way, it will be directly dependable on the humans, right? So yeah, I can particularly say like most of the things will be uh, going towards changing the machine over the manpower. I can definitely say, but it will be helping the people. For example, AI came and like with the help integration of AI with the robotics, the all the warehousing, all the logistics, it's going automatically. But what it helping them exactly? It's like it is increasing the productivity of the companies and the people. It's not replacing the human, but it's like creating the productivity for the businesses and the human as well.
So,
So
so in
yeah,
terms of, so instead of augmented reality, it's augmented productivity, right? In a way,
yeah, exactly.
right? Okay, great. So next question we will take up is that of Auditro, who puts it more positively. Given that there is large scale technology adoption across the world, and then science and technology, there's a lot more access to it. Does that mean that both in India and abroad, and we'll be limited to India, there is more scope and there's more opportunity for startup founders, anybody who wants to begin a venture that involves technology, as opposed to, let's say, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, right? And it'll be great for each of you to very quickly weigh in on this. It's an important question.
I'll start. Yeah.
Yes, please.
So, of course, with technology being the way it is now, and with the wider access that everybody has to the internet, it is now possible for many startups to, start, or for many ideas to get a platform and to see, if people actually want to take up that idea. Tallstone is a prime example of that. So, because I am able to use the internet to link so many people, I'm being able to bridge the gap between these ends of society. So of course it is only possible because of technology, but at the same time there's a point I want to make here, which I keep telling tech startups or young entrepreneurs also. Because we live in a global environment, there's a tendency to, copy or imitate technology or business models that are working somewhere else. But let us keep in mind that, there are real problems and real people around us. So let's not get so carried away by technology that, we lose focus of what is it and who is it that we are really doing this for. So let us make great strides in science and technology. But when you're designing solutions,
Let's
that
get
be
carried away and
working.
do technology for the sake of doing technology. Let's actually,
Yes,
keep identifying and solving a practical
absolutely.
problem on the ground.
Absolutely. As an entrepreneur, we should do that.
Absolutely. Taposh, you want to go next? Taposh, you're on mute.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah. So, Taposh, the question was, right, now that we have much more adoption of science and technology, does it make it actually easier for entrepreneurs today, startup founders today, to start a business than, let's say, ever before?
Yeah. Because in the initial days, I struggled a lot to get the resource, because being a startup, it's that time I was not totally renowned, so there was a lot of struggle to get the resource. So if the technology can fulfill that part, maybe some amount of automation, then it will be beneficial for the initial days, obviously.
Okay.
So getting a resource is always a challenge for startup.
Aman, your views on this?
Yeah, so definitely it will be helping the entrepreneurs to start a startup, but it's also creating a whole lot more problem. For example, I see many entrepreneurs which we are currently working on. So they were very much having difficulty, like they were easily building the solution, okay, but they're not able to find out a good problem which their way they can like implement the solution as a tech. So that's maybe something like problem statement validation is most important nowadays before building a tech.
Absolutely. And I think we've partly covered the question that I'm going to ask anyway. If there's one particular advice that you would like to give, not people who are aspiring, because we've covered that, but there are a lot of startup entrepreneurs at the moment who've had a good run for anything like 6 months to maybe 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years. And suddenly, because of the pandemic and the way that it's impacted, disrupted all of our lives, right? And the economy, are finding it extremely hard. And they're possibly at a point where they have that, inflection point, like a question of faith in themselves. Should I keep going, or should I just give it up and try and get back and, look for a job or doing something else? What would be your advice to them? One by one. I mean, Sujata, you first, Taposh, and then Aman.
I think a quality of an entrepreneur is patience and perseverance. So we must have that. And I cannot advise on anyone else's condition, but I'll tell you what I tell myself, that I started this literally from zero. I had no one beside me. I had nothing. I didn't wait for anyone to come and fund me, say my idea was good. One day I decided I'm going to start. I started and I built it up to whatever little it is now. If I have to do it all over again, I believe now I'm actually in a better condition because I've learned a few tricks along the way. When I started, I was even worse off. So if I have to do it all again, I believe I have the capability to do it all again. So have this self-belief in you that, no matter what happens, you've done this once, you can do this again. So as I said, patient, be persistent in your efforts.
Lovely. Taposh?
For me, my suggestion is entrepreneur never gives up. So you can take a break, maybe if required, and do the homework, strategy, decide the strategy, and again come back. Don't lose hope.
Okay, keep fighting. Don't lose hope. Aman,
Yeah,
your
so
advice?
I always believe the one quote by Steve Jobs, that is stay hungry, stay foolish. So that is the single thing I always believe on, and keep going on with whatever like we have started with. So yeah, that is the single most thing I can go on, like maybe like you have started with something which is small, but as you can go in your journey, you can learn, you can like get the support from the people, and the kind of things you are solving for the maybe for the consumer or for the businesses. But people will always appreciate you because you are someone who is giving the solution for their pain point. So yeah, that's the advice I can give.
Great. So it's been absolutely fascinating talking to all three of you. And I, for one, didn't realize that we've actually gone over time. So more than 60 minutes, and it certainly didn't feel like it. What I'm also very happy about is to see the kind of engagement that we've seen from our viewers and the large number of questions that have been posed to us. And I'm sure the viewers will also get some very valuable takeaways from your responses to those questions. So thank you all very much, but in particular, to NASCOM, 10,000 Startups, Arihant Kothari, to Prohor for collaborating and making this accessible to a wider audience. And in particular, to Taposh, Sujata, Aman, and all our dear viewers. Thank you so much for joining in, for listening in. We shall be back again, same time next month for another episode of Startup Speaks. Till then, thank you. Be safe. Goodbye.